No, it's connecting up and there we go. Okay.
Michelle's gonna call it, right?
Okay.
Well, New Jersey.
I guess, attendees, there she is. Okay. All right, 5 o'clock, and this is the meeting of the Conservation Commission. And let's do the roll call. We'll start out with Michelle out there in the Zoom land.
You're on mute, Michelle.
Test out.
Oh, there we go.
There
I'm
we
trying.
go.
There we go. Michelle Patrick, secretary.
Very good.
Bray Rafferty, Vice Chair.
Ann Schmidt, member.
Larry Dunn,
Kristen Asante, member.
Tom Olson, member. Dave Prescott, staff.
All right, and we'll go into approval of meeting, which is in the agenda and handout.
I move we approve the minutes as presented.
For a second?
Second.
I have comments.
Second?
Second,
Now,
I already
other
did.
comments?
Oh, sorry.
There
You
you go.
need a second.
That's okay.
I need to read Robert's rule. I think you left me out of the votes. I was here. It was Kristen that was,
I was not here.
or Bray.
I was here.
Hold on.
Chris
Oh,
was here.
last-
Ray was not here.
Oh, yeah. you were
Yeah,
here.
no, I was here.
Yeah, so
We
I,
moved the meeting.
wait,
Ray was not
but
here.
anyway, I was here.
Now, since we're on here.
Oh, yeah, why is that?
um,
Oh, wait.
Are
I don't
you,
know.
are you accepting the role
Oh,
of
yeah.
vice chair?
I'll take it under advisement, but let me think about it.
Yeah, you didn't answer me. I emailed you. You never answered me.
That's why I was asking in a public setting. So should we amend the meetings or is that
No, it's not
to
recorded.
go in the next? Okay, all right. All right, let the record show that Ray has accepted the vote from
Thank you
the
for the vote.
January 8th meeting to continue as the vice chair.
And sorry about that. I have no idea why
Yeah.
you were when I did it. It was you were definitely in there. I don't know why it took you off.
Some subconscious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, next is public communications, and there is no public. Did you receive any? Can you?
I didn't. Nope.
Okay. Item 4 is report of chair. Okay, I got a little bit. On January 30th, we held the POCD kickoff meeting. Dave was in attendance, but in addition, the John Reiner, Jeff Pritchard, the chair of PZ, and Bob Boris, the chair of ECD, and myself were.
Deb Jones.
Yes, there was other people there. I'm just saying is that the meeting was to
Got it. All
get
right.
the coordination between the 3 relevant.
Yep.
Commissions and planning department. And the net of the outcome, I thought it was a pretty collaborative meeting. There's a consultant being hired, and an RFP is going to be available about the end of February for review. With the commissions, they were looking for volunteers. I volunteered to represent the Conservation Commission, but I will bring forward the draft and we can discuss it and provide feedback appropriately. Hopefully that gets finalized and executed by the end of June 20th, I think was the date
Yeah, I think so.
that I have. As part of that, there was 4 public sessions planned that just hit the airways today.
Today.
The Greater Groton one, so hopefully you've gotten that February 22nd.
I got a question.
Oh,
Is that the
yeah.
meeting? Because it was very confusing to me whether this was the POCD planning
Yes.
thing or
Yeah.
was it some other effort that the Office of Planning is
That's
doing?
I'm related. That is the 4 topics that
Okay.
the POCD planning
So
team wants to.
this is part of the engagement process to start getting the community to start thinking about the POCD. So these are some of the large topics that we're going to start with, and just to reach out in the community to get just start educating and getting people ready for the start of the POCD. Obviously, the process is not going to start until after June when the consultant's hired. But this is a process to get the community start thinking about some of those topics. And did you all should have received an email today about that?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All right. Okay, I'm just making sure.
It went out and I've already gotten comments back from people like Groton Open Space Association, Groton Conservation Advocates. Because they're concerned, I guess, is Mr. Poland, who's one of the speakers, has got some questionable background
Well,
from prior.
have them come to the meeting. Have them come to the meeting.
Just let you know.
Yeah, but it is public sessions for feedback, so, so in there, February 22nd, March 28th, April 25th, and May, date to be determined.
Yep.
So that gets to the point I made earlier about the end of June to resolve this, because they wanted these meetings to transpire before that time. Okay, let's see, any questions on that? So things are moving forward as we had, I guess, expected. We did also get a notice for the cause March 7th meeting. And I think, did everyone get that?
mhm. I did.
It's the annual meeting for wetlands and water courses.
Oh,
Well,
I didn't know what you're talking about.
Cause,
Yeah.
CAWS.
Mhm.
No,
Cause, yes.
No, I did see that
Oh,
one.
maybe I did. Now that I
okay,
see
yeah, I
cause.
thought everyone got it. Well, I guess the question is, A, do we want to participate? Who's going to participate? And the fees, I assume, would be funded by the town if we so want to participate.
Which one? This is in Kakiwick?
No,
No, this is another one.
we haven't, I've never attended that other one because the agenda
It's-
didn't seem relevant.
So it's more wetland, is it more wetland?
Yeah.
It's more wetlands, vernal pool mapping, special wetland and Eversource and White
Right.
Cedar
Something that
Migration
would be-
Project. Strong pond dam, well, here, I can bring it up.
Inland wetlands.
Yeah, it would be-
has-
it's
has
more
its
geared
own
towards it. Yeah.
collection of,
Right.
Yeah.
Mm, Right,
Opportunities for education. updates. So it's not something that,
We typically go to.
typically.
as Tom said, typically we.
Yeah, so
Involved
yeah,
in.
so these are the ones
Oh, yeah,
presentation.
cause ones. Yeah. Okay.
All right. I thought I would bring it up. I detect that there's not a lot of interest in attending, so we can save the town a little money. There it is. Okay.
Got it.
Let the record show. Stop share. Let me get rid of that. Let's see, what else did I think that was. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, how could I forget this? Eelgrass. I know you love to hear this. But, oh, gee,
Some of us do,
some of us care, okay.
yes.
Let me bring the zoom up, zoom, where do you go, zoom? There it is. And share screen, eelgrass. Okay, so,
Oh, look.
look at that, so
Ooh.
the report is now finalized. And has been published. I keep asking, when is it gonna get published on the Connecticut State website? And I have not gotten a reply, but I do have a copy of it. It is 50 pages, how much, 46 pages? So I thought I didn't want to send it to you for inclusion because it was so damn big, and it is a public document. I thought perhaps
I can send out the link.
I could send out well, no, I was waiting for the link.
Yeah. it's-
Oh.
There's no link. I have it. And because I'm part of the committee and I have it on my personal computer, so. I'm trying to think of. And it's too big to send through the mail.
If you,
No, I
do you have Gmail?
I do have Gmail.
Yeah, it'll convert it to a link. When it's something that big, it'll say, we're gonna convert it to the link for you.
Google Drive.
It is, yeah, it should be able to, it should convert it for you.
Use Gmail.
But it should eventually go on the CGA site, right? Eventually.
Yeah, I mean, if there's gonna be a link eventually, just wait till there's a link.
Right, there will be a link eventually. It's just not there yet, and I
Right.
kept looking every day, hoping it would be there for today. But in lieu of that, I can send out a Gmail to all the members here, and since it's like I said, it's a public communication, I don't
Right.
feel.
Well,
But if it creates a link, what does it link to?
So Gmail will, Gmail will create the link and it links directly to the whatever PDF or whatever that Larry has.
Yeah.
So
It's like
links
if
to his computer?
Like Dropbox.
No,
Google Drive.
yeah, it's like a Dropbox, a Google Drive. It's the same.
Oh,
Like, so
okay.
if you,
Okay.
it's similar if you share 50 photos, it's not going to send because it's too large of a document, but they'll wrap them up into a link that you can then click on.
So, but the link is in Google Drive then?
Yes.
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 Yep.
Okay. That's what I was gonna say, it's gotta be somewhere,
Yeah, well, yeah.
It's in the cloud.
right? There is no such thing as the cloud. It's always
Everything's in
on
the,
something,
everything's in the cloud.
So,
Right.
without going through the 46 pages, which I won't, I highlighted, the key recommendations. As you might expect, protect what we got, monitor what we got. Given the fact that water quality is the key parameter here, work on that. And then the rest is, what do we do to encourage restoration and or maintenance? So there's a lot of stuff buried in there, and it goes. Let's see, I think the target was last week to go back to the subcommittee. I have not heard anything since then, but it's a pretty good document. I mean, it's not a scientific, I mean, it's got a lot of references, but it's not a pure science one. It tends to have some, what's called reasonable recommendations, which do affect us because we are on the seaside, seashore, whatever.
So,
So boats and moorings and those kind of things are part of it.
so is this to then propose legislation to?
Yes,
Yes.
they passed, that's to repeat, they passed a legislation to do the study and recommendations. This is now going back, and then based upon this, we're saying, hey, you should allocate funding to support the recommendations.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
So part of the lengthy state process. Right, so,
well, is this gonna be a 2024 or a 2025 initiative at the state level? Because
What we're saying in there is- it's
late in sort of
no, I
supporting
no,
this year.
this is like a 5 and 10 year
Oh,
set of recommendations. Because it takes a couple of years just to see if what actions you took results in a beneficial.
well, no, I'm not
Ooh.
looking for completion. I'm just looking, if you mentioned that it's going, that the recommendations of this report are really.
Part of this session.
For this session?
Yes.
Okay.
Now, whether anything happens.
Yeah.
That, but it was part of this session's job, which is why they wanted it in January, the recommendations back. So that they can do something with it. Now, on the subcommittee, it's Senator Summers. Is is our representative, and she is also on this. I guess the legislative point of contact for this effort. Okay,
Can I ask you?
sure.
It sounds like great goals for them, but who's actually doing the monitoring? Who's
Well, one of the recommendations work with NER and, to expand the monitoring that's been started and basically, right now it's a multi-year, every several years they monitor. I'm saying it's
Yep.
accelerate that. Some of it would be accelerated on a yearly basis, some very specific target ones, and other ones would be done at a minimum of every 2 years versus now it's done as it gets done. There's not really a schedule for it.
is it your group that's going to be doing this, or is it Are they assigning it to like a university to do
We
the?
did recommend who would do it,
Okay, yeah.
and it's in there.
Yeah.
Not this group. I mean,
Right.
we're a bunch of
Advisors.
advisors.
Yeah.
Right. But I learned a lot about seagrass, so, or eelgrass, excuse me. I guess eelgrass is a seagrass. Okay, so I will send out the Gmail link for this. And at some point, when it becomes available through the Connecticut State website, I will then get it into the record for the commission for publication, I guess, for the community. I don't want to publish our Gmail stuff for the community at this point.
No.
Yeah. Okay. Now it's the report of the commission. So let's go around the horn, start over with Mr. Olson.
Okay, a couple items. One is that I attended as noted in the last meeting minutes, the CLCC grassroots or a grass top winter summit for Connecticut. And it was an interesting meeting where they basically brought in all the commissioners and for the DEP, agriculture, housing, OPM and remediation and stuff. And then they went through like 4 different scenarios in regard to, and it really was focusing on for how each of these departments interface with each other to provide funding for local communities, whether it's municipalities, land trusts, to be able to both improve their community from both a housing perspective as well as a land conservation perspective. And then in the afternoon session, they brought in a number of folks, as in the minutes here, in regard to community activists that are working in throughout the different parts of the state relative to how they're taking these funds and implementing their programs. Probably the most relevant one is the one for the folks over in New London, where they have this Southeastern Connecticut Community Land Trust. I don't know how familiar people are with it, but what they've basically been doing is getting properties and then as a land trust, and then having people come in and then build a home on it, and then take ownership, but maintain an easement on the property. And they've also gone in and gotten in up in Salem, because they can come into Groton here, Southeast Connecticut. But they have got another effort up in Salem where they basically got a 13-acre part, I think it's about 13 acres area as a farm, and then they basically redid the farmhouse and brought a couple families in to take care of it and run it. And again, they're still owning the property from an easement perspective, but ensuring that it's getting reused rather than just going fallow. Okay. That's the local item. A lot of other people are doing other things in similar areas, and I'm not going to go into all the details because that was the only one I thought was somewhat relevant to what we were doing here. Other ones is kind of urban areas in New Haven, Hartford, Bridgeport and stuff. And then the Litchfield Hills is how they're bringing different land groups together to be more productive. So so that was a fairly interesting topics. The other thing is as far as the complete streets, as your representative there, we had a meeting on the January 17th. And then we basically listened to the consultant that Parks and Rec has hired for working with the Complete Streets master plan that they're developing. And later this week, I think it's on Thursday afternoon, we'll be doing a drive around with the consultant to go as a special meeting of the commission to
Thursday?
take a look at what?
Oh, I was just thinking, I guess the storm should be cleaned
Yes.
up by then.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
Oh, that-
The
oh,
roads might be, approved. Look at
Yeah.
bike lanes and stuff, it might
Uh,
still be kind of covered.
Well,
Oh, yeah,
it's,
they will.
it's what it is, so we'll take a look at it. Hasn't been canceled yet, so,
Okay,
but, so.
We wanna keep you
just to let
safe,
you
Tom.
know that if you have comments about that, that's where this is all going, but they have quite an ambitious plan here to, take a look at stuff. If you need more details, contact me. I think those are the two areas that I had on.
didn't you also attend the deep integrated water planning?
Oh, that was a special meeting.
Oh, a special meeting. Okay.
That was, it was with the, person from Deep, Amy Patterson from CLCC, and myself. It was just three of us on the call. In regard to the open space definitions, and they basically says. We've got the state's working with this definition, and they're having their consultant work through the stuff. It'd be premature for us to change anything on our inventory, like we basically agreed to at the last meeting. As they said, that's probably the right thing to do, is do nothing at this point. Keep maintaining your inventories the way you are. And we recognize it's good that you came back and told us that in reality, you would be losing acreage rather than gaining acreage, which they think that they would be with the definitions from there at the state level. So they're gonna take that under advisement.
Did they give any indication of availability of a proposed new definition?
No.
Oh.
Their consultant is on his timeline, and that, because they're working, it's all part of the state green plan, which is already expired, and so they're just on it, on whatever the timeline that they get from the consultant. And it's kind of a mixed match of stuff right now, because everything was tied to this Connecticut statute that expired in 23. So they're kind of this netherland awaiting new legislation as far as on which way things are gonna go. In regard to, do I even need to have a green plan? Is a 21% still valid goal? They're kind of, as from a deep perspective, they're kind of treading a thin ice here in regard to what's authorized and what their goals are and what's going to be, what their plan going forward is, because it's all new players relative to the people that, back 10 years ago, when they put all this legislation in place to get to the 21% goal from 2013 to 2023, all those people have retired, and so it's a lot of learning curve, and that's because they're working with consultants and all this kind of stuff. The only consistent person is this Amy Patterson from CLCC, and they highly respect her, and so she still has some influence, but she recognizes she's not a state employee, and the state will do what they're going to do. And then also what the direction from the state legislature is, as far as do they want to, take that legislation and extend it? Do they want something new? Do we want to go with a 30% goal? I don't know where this is all going to go. And it's.
All right, well, I mean, we wanted the P O C D to
Right.
align with the state
Mhm.
definitions of goals. It still looks like
Get
it's
some time.
possible,
You have some time, yeah.
Yeah.
but given how fast the state moves,
Well, I think to some degree, the green plan state definition that we currently have is probably, it's not that, all they're trying to do is provide better definition to the protected and preserved. They acknowledge that they're still got
two
protected,
lumps.
preserved, but what they're saying is that they're trying to come in, put a better definition to what that
Little
really
refinement.
means. Yeah, refinement,
Okay.
expansion, rather than, because right now, there isn't any, it's just, other than it's three, it's three, lines, and that's about it. And they're trying to expand as far as so that they can better categorize stuff. Because they have a vision where they're gonna be able to have each town put into into the state database, the GIS database, as far as what's protected and preserved, and they want to be able to get it down to that level.
they want to get that where.
They want our inventory basically statewide.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the ultimate goal. How they're gonna get there, I have no idea, because right now, it's money, trying to get this GIS and trying to, for this town, for us, all Noah has to do is hit the send button and it automatically populates. But you go to Ledger and there's nothing, Manuel is gonna have to get involved to update all the parcel information. There is a state unique parcel thing, but the towns aren't using the ArcGIS system that we have, that we're using. And the state is using that ArcGIS, Groton is, but a lot of towns are not, because if it's expensive to maintain it, you gotta have somebody that really understands how to operate the system.
All right,
Okay,
thank you.
no problem.
Or pollination.
Yes, yes. I've had a few meetings with Jason about the eco fair and we're just kind of wrapping up, finalizing the vendors. Between 40 and 50 vendors right now, including, I think, one of the car, like Valenti or some car agencies, possibly solar, wind turbines. A lot of excitement about it. And so that's coming along.
Are we gonna be able to fit all that in the venue we're at the library?
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a lot of space. There was all
It's a
those fields
big-
out by the hockey
yeah.
field out there. There's a
Okay.
lot of outdoor space over there. Rearranging stuff like Scara, who is doing such a great job with the new composting, so put them more front and center. They were kind of stuck back in a patio last year in a terrible location, so there would be more public facing interaction there. So that's coming along nicely. And then Michelle and Ann and I met with the College kids.
Well, and
regarding-
Jason,
Oh, yes, and Jason was on that call with us as well, yeah. So I'll probably leave you to update that, Michelle, because that's more like
Mhm.
your little baby. So
Okay.
that's-
Anything else?
Oh, no, I
Yes.
I don't know if it's report or not, just as far as our booth, at some point I'd like to discuss with the commission, like what, if we want to have a particular focus on the Conservation Commission booth this year. And we got a memo from somebody about the recycling status in the city, and that it was like something about untangled recycling.
Yeah, that-
Everyone got it?
Yeah, that was from Stacy. Yeah,
Yeah.
from
I
Stacy.
thought that might be something that we could do a little focus on our booth. This idea of raising, because we've done a lot of work with plastic, raising awareness, what should and shouldn't go in the recycling. Like, for example, they're talking about people put Christmas tree lights in the recycling. They mean well, oh, it's plastic, I'll put it in the recycling.
Yeah.
But that just messes the
yeah.
whole system up. So, yeah,
Especially if you're right by Scara or near Scara, because they
Right.
have that app too that. you can
Yeah,
just
yeah,
punch in
so,
and see
but
what
just
your
by-
city.
if we came up with some graphics, some heads up, like, hey,
Yeah.
guys, this is how, and that might be, I said to Michelle, that might be a project for the College kids to do some publicity,
Right.
some graphics, just something so this is just a thought as a group, we could think about that.
So-
All right. Well,
Kristen, wouldn't Scara be doing that though? Don't we think Scara would have that information or
Well,
not?
Scara does have that information, but I'm thinking we as a body are trying to sort of raise awareness, do some education.
Right,
If we want to have the overarching theme this year of the eco fair is plastic versus
Right.
earth. So it
Right.
dovetails with that, it dovetails with the work we did with getting that ordinance
Oh.
passed. It seems like
right.
something that would make sense for us to at least
Right.
highlight.
I'm not arguing with that. I'm just saying that Scara might have the same information at their booth though. That's all.
They will, but they have their style.
It could be
Okay.
different.
Exactly, and we have
information.
our style, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
I think
That's
even
fine.
education on plastics and health hazards, I don't know if people saw,
Yeah.
I ran across an article that people in their lungs have
oh, yeah.
accumulation, shall you say?
Lungs,
Microplastic
blood,
and-
everything.
Yeah.
Well, it's everywhere, but yeah.
Like
Anyway,
it could be as simple as, here's a recycling container, here's a garbage, and just have an array of the number, little styrofoam trays and,
I
No
think
shame.
your question more is, the Conservation Commission has a booth.
Right.
What's in the booth
this year.
this year for
Yeah,
us?
right.
And given the fact that we only got, what, 2 meetings?
Yep.
Before that,
Mhm.
I think we need to decide
soon.
today a subcommittee or something to address that, and we also got to make sure that with Michelle, what's the crossover with the College
Well,
stuff as well?
Yeah, the three of us, Michelle and Ann and I are all
Oh.
in the College group, yeah.
So should you three then come back next month with, here's a recommendation
Yeah.
for what we need to do for our booth?
Mhm.
Okay, all right.
That sound good? And Michelle?
Yep, works for me.
March.
Which is in three weeks. I mean, we're
Oh, because we're a little
we're
late.
meeting a little late, yeah.
Well, that's right, but times March, it's not that
We could do it tomorrow.
far away. Yeah, okay. Appreciate it. Thank you. Yes,
I'm next.
you're next.
So it was great to hear that Scara got their permit from Preston. We had another group that I am involved with, had a meeting with Dave right before they got the the permit, and we were asking him how we could help. And so his biggest challenge, the next biggest challenge is getting the deep permit. Some of these permits have taken up to 3 years to get. And so and some of them have been a bit quicker. So this is an area that, you know, even something from the town, from the commission, maybe, I don't know. I just want to bring that to as a possibility that we could send a letter to Dee, but supporting.
Well,
Can
is
we do
there,
that?
I mean, the process for getting the permit, I think I had told,
The more
Dave,
public input.
I
they
told
get.
Dave before, let us know when we need to put the input in, because you
Yes.
gotta, there's some,
And yeah, if I find out, I'll let you know. If you know, let me know.
Yeah. all right, because, you know, I think we're willing to help,
Yes,
but we gotta know when
yes.
and who to get the information.
Exactly. No,
our
that's
support
absolutely
into.
true. And then beyond that, he's gonna want help, and that doesn't have to be the commission, but on education.
Yeah, well, GCA seems to be interested.
Yeah.
As well with this, so I
Yep.
think we can marshal additional conservation advocates.
Yep.
Generic advocates for this, not just us.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
But writing something, I think, to Duke might help. I did attend the League of Conservation Voters Environmental Summit. I put my notes, they're kind of cryptic they're in the packet, so I won't go over them in detail. However, the first session was chaired by Charles Rothenberger from Save the Sound. He is their energy and climate lawyer or advocate, and it was very clear from that session that Connecticut is falling very far behind neighboring states. Just in terms of emissions goals and that kind of thing. So one effort will be to advocate for legislation on updating the Global Warming Solutions Act and many other things. There was a session on food waste. A lot of, exactly what we're trying to do is get the organics, or what Scara's trying to do is get the organics out of the food stream, of the waste stream, I'm sorry. There was curbside compost was there, that a company more active in the southwest part of the state that will come and pick up your compost and take care of it. And other organizations that, again, just went through the EPA kind of hierarchy of, I meant to actually put it in there, I think I described it, but
There's a lot of detail in there.
yeah, what to do. What else? They had a legislative panel, and Representative Palm announced that an omnibus climate bill is in the works. It has not been unveiled yet. I believe it's supposed to be unveiled on Wednesday, so we'll see. A lot of groups around the state worked with Representative Palm and Representative Baumgardner and others. Save the Sound, Sierra Club, you name it. We'll see what actually the legislative office, what it looks like when it comes out of the legislative office. The bill number is HB 5004. And it's not in the system yet. I just checked it again. Again, I think it's coming out on Wednesday. I had questions about a couple of things. I think that's it for the report. Should I ask them now?
It's your time.
All right. The GIS accessibility score on the parcels. It says whether it's public access or not. I guess there's sometimes a number after that, like public.
That number ties to the map that's being maintained by Parks and Rec when in the thing they put up to the community. Those are the locations that are listed
Oh,
there.
is that what that is?
Yeah.
I did not realize that. Okay. And so sometimes two parcels might be would have the same.
Potentially, because that's how they,
Mhm.
it's just tied to the, because some of the parcels, some of the parks and stuff, when they kind of put a thing on, it, have multiple parcels to it. And we keep our thing is all done by the individual parcels.
And if there's a piece of open space that has no entry there, that means it's not accessible or it's just not known.
Everything was assigned either accessible or non-accessible.
It's empty on some. Just curious.
If you found an empty
Unless,
one, then we probably need to go
maybe
back and take a
I
look.
might have been clicking on something different. And then I had another question. What was it? Oh, it's kind of curious too, like Sixpenny Island is public access accessible. But you need a boat.
You need, well, you
Like-
do, I mean, that's,
Yeah.
Well, you
you
can
need a
go, I
boat,
guess.
Yeah, you can go. I've
Yeah,
gone,
go,
you know,
Yeah,
yeah.
no, I.
until it's underwater.
You can swim. I'd like. to
Yeah,
go, but
and you
I don't
can pull
have a
your,
boat.
you can tie your kayak up there
Yeah.
and watch the boats go by and that kind of stuff. I've gone there for these
No, I
boat
think that's
parades and
great.
stuff.
It's more just to give a general sense of which ones can you really access?
Yeah,
Right, which ones don't
Access
have
to-
fences around them?
Exactly, or it's on private property, but it's conservation, or, something.
yeah.
It's just to make it more clear cut. For the
No, I
public,
think that's really
you know.
helpful, actually, and
It's buried though in the GIS maps.
Yes.
It
There's
is.
only, hey, that's not me.
I'm just saying, it took me a while to find it after I was
Same here.
told
I
it was
used to-
there.
search for it, but once you find it, it's there.
Yeah.
No, yeah, once you find it.
I was looking for the tree inventory. Did that ever get published?
Elizabeth Raisbeck.
Yeah, she's been on. She has been on, listening in. So that's a good question because
It was,
it's been completed.
okay,
I think it's still in draft form and I think staff that were on that committee are looking at it.
and that was a tree inventory on municipal property
Correct.
to just, yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And then workshops, how are you guys advertising these? Just thinking about the experience I had when I went to that social justice, environmental justice meeting.
Much differently than how they advertise. So
Sure.
we're very, we're being very strategic about this because again, these are not geared towards they're not directly geared towards import towards the POCD. And one thing you should know is that we are all really bad at using acronyms. And the POCD is probably one of the worst. And so in the RFP, it's being renamed Groton 2035. All right, so I know we talk about POCD in here and whatnot, and we throw it around like it's a softball back and forth. But that's also a barrier because if someone else is listening in or at a meeting and we just keep saying that, they're not going to understand what that is, and they're going to tune it out, and they're not going to want to become involved and whatnot. So internally, we're trying to be very, very aware of this process because again, as we've mentioned many times, is that in order for this to be successful, we need to get the entire community to the table. And that doesn't just mean people who own homes or, or are involved with other groups, but really we need to reach out to those that are renters, those that, are, work for EB, or, like that would like to find housing or something to live here, but they can't. I think it's something like 82% of our population are commuters. So that is a big, that's a struggle. So I think that, again, we're working a lot on communication. And part of that is to, if you notice, like even the locations for those events, they're not the normal. We are not going to be meeting here. We are not going to be meeting there. We're going to be meeting at places within the community that people can walk to that are outside the realm of what people are used to. We're already talking about, obviously having refreshments there, thinking about other opportunities to make sure that maybe varying some of the times, maybe, being able to offer things like childcare potentially. So these are all things that we're exploring right now as ways to get, more feedback, from the voices that, from the 98.7% of people within the community that don't normally engage in in efforts like this. So that's why this start here, that's why we're tailoring them. They're called community conversations, because that's what we want. We want to have community. We're bringing in specialists to have a conversation, to do a presentation, to be open to questions and to really have it be more conversational rather than someone up there just, giving a lecture. And again, we're hoping that using this model will really help with starting to drive our engagement with Groton 2035. So
What's the 35?
so if you think about it, so it's basically, instead of saying a 10-year plan,
Right.
it's a 10-year plan. So basically our last POCD was in 2016. This one technically every 10 years, 2026. So we're using 2035 as kind of like that 10-year span. Where do you want to see Groton in 2035? What things, what are going to bring families here? What are going to bring, people who want to work here and other opportunities and whatnot. And so, and it's everything. It's looking at the spectrum of all the different issues that the town grapples with and whatnot. So that's kind of this is kind of the start to just start people thinking a little bit differently, and again to getting out into the community to hear from those voices. So this is new to us. We're trying it, and we're really excited about it. We really are, because we hope it's a good turnout, so.
So it's more of shooting for an endpoint rather than a process.
Yes, exactly. Yep.
Yep.
Exactly. And I think too, thinking about Groton 2035, so many times efforts like this result in a report, and that report goes on the shelf. And we want something that is really going to be seen more as a living document and basically greater goals to basically work towards. So, but it went out today, it went out to all the commissions. It went out, it's going up on Greater Groton too. So, and I was going to talk about this now, but you asked last time about Greater Groton. So right now we have approximately 800 registered users. So that's why we want to keep increasing. We have, a population of just under 40,000. We want that number to go up. But the one good thing about that 800 registered users is our engagement rate is very high. It's at 25%, which is extremely, extremely high. So when we put topics out there, there is a lot of back and forth engagement, people commenting, or, we had one for flooding where people could actually put, like your photo. So you could actually go into the flooding one in Greater Groton and actually upload it. So you could, pinpoint that house and say, a point in time, but that's what we're trying to do, is really get that engagement piece out there too. So we're looking at using, basically using whatever resources we can and varying them, not just trying to say, oh, we're gonna put out a poster and we're gonna hang it everywhere and hope that people come. Now we're looking at we're going to be doing more tabling events. Part of this is that we want to reach out to the community and look at opportunities where maybe certain, smaller neighborhood associations have little, get-togethers or community events. We want to be there. We want to have these same kind of conversations and make sure we're getting their voices. So.
That sounds good. Then I guess the last thing is that Kristen already said, but the Con College projects, which Michelle will take.
The only thing I have is there's a new piece of property, not new. It's an old discussion on Sandy Hollow Road that it's a property 0 Sandy Hollow Road that doesn't help you with an address. But it's property that abuts Pequot Woods going north, comes up to Sandy Hollow Road. You cross the road, there's a small piece of property and then 95. And that piece of property that borders, if you know where the ambulance building is, off of Allen Street.
Mhm.
So anything along, across the street from it, running down the road, is now part of Avalonia. And on the other side, the adjacent piece of property to it, when it was a one farm, 95 went through, cut it off. And so there are properties on both sides. It took about 2 years to get all of the stakeholders in the families to sign off to donate the land to Avalonia.
I'm pulling it up for you. I'm just trying to get to the top here. Oh, it's not really
The other
letting
way,
me.
try
Yeah,
Allen
Oh, that's
Street
why.
Or this way.
No, I know, I'm trying to get to this so we can actually look at.
Oh.
Come on.
Oh, geez.
This one? Or this one?
It might,
You're on the west, that's on the east side. Are you?
You're on the
Ray's
west
talking
side?
on the
Yeah.
we-
Oh,
on the
you're
west
talking,
side.
you're talking way over. Oh, this one up here.
Yep.
You're not sharing that? Is there something I can
I-
see or?
Michelle, give me a second. I have to get it. We had to get to it
Okay.
first.
Okay,
That's the parcel you're talking about?
All right.
North of, okay, it's pretty big. Okay.
That's not where the tree that. had been
I just hit the green, yeah.
There it is.
no, that's much further
further
down.
down.
That's
Yeah,
much further down.
okay.
there we go. Now we're sharing. Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yep.
That's right by the off ramp.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
okay.
And then right across the street, just above, sort of to the above and right, just where the, above the cursor right now,
Yeah,
that open piece in there is
Oh.
also part of it. So that's now locked in finally from the Luberfish family.
That just, that was just done recently here?
Yeah, 1st of January, I guess, around early January.
You said that's Avalonia?
Pardon?
Avalonia?
Yes.
Yes, Avalonia.
So that's
21 acres.
21.26
21.26.
acres on that side, and what's the other side?
Hold on one second.
Yeah, no, he can click on it.
This one. Oh, no. 20.29,
So 41 acres total?
41.55.
Okay, well, that adds to the total there. Uh,
That makes up what we'll lose.
Pardon?
They'll make up what we lose by the definitions.
well, but it's,
Well, it's been important for, I'm the conservation representative from the Conservation Commission to Pequot Woods Board of Trustees. And as such, we've always talked about protecting that last piece just before you get to the highway. And not have it developed into a series of houses, for instance. But be more contiguous, if you will. And then the property right now that's highlighted to the left of it is there is town-owned property that is adjacent to 95. Yes, there you go.
oh,
So it's a nice, and then a little further down, Avalonia has another piece of property just to the left of that.
Hmm.
So it's a nice grouping right through there. A connection.
The shame of it is, with any kind of foxes, raccoon, any kind of little animal, they can't get across 95. So it's effectively, like a lot of places now they're building ramps and
Yeah.
underpath.
Tunnel
for-
underpasses.
Because it's still splitting them into two
You have
populations.
an excellent point. We brought it up in the Conservation Commission for 1,000 years.
Yep.
In the past. There was at one point, many, many years ago, the council was going to ask
Oh,
the
Cow Hill is what it is.
95 if they could put an extra exit, a brand new exit off for Flanders Road. This is back when we had a recycling center going.
okay.
And we're saying, well, if you're going to put something there, can you give us a environmental road a crossing,
Call them riparian, some bridges
Riparian,
or
right.
something, yeah.
and it has been done.
Yeah.
Uh,
It's being done around the country for, yeah.
Right, in Europe, they've also done it, so it's been very successful.
The problem you're gonna have here is that the only thing that the state will look at right now from a DOT perspective, because they own the inner
Right here.
there, is, you know, do you have enough of there's population to warrant it? I don't think
Exactly.
you've got squat in there
No, there's
right
no
now.
bears, there's no moose to be protected as
Right,
it is.
because you
It's
got,
just-
you're totally surrounded, particularly you take a look
Yeah.
at how much the density of stuff just to the north of there is
Mhm.
tremendous, relatively speaking. And you
Well,
gotta,
If you go further west,
right, there is culverts and everything going through,
there are culverts, as well as more.
and that's what they're
open
gonna
pay,
tell you.
Going
that
north.
we're gonna-
It's
that
just
There
a
there is a
generic
way to get there,
conversation.
it's just not, you don't see, at that particular location, it's not there. But, you know, with the other open space, that corridor that you have alongside there, you can get to there. So,
It's nice for birds, it's not for chipmunks.
No, it's pretty big. Some of the culverts are pretty big. I've been
yeah,
there.
the culvert, there are larger culverts, that's what I've been looking at, are these culverts. In various locations along the corridor, because one of the things that I have, this is in my discussions with the deep people, is that why aren't you going to DOT and getting, you know, counting some of their properties? Because the middle's part of the interstate, there's a lot of wildlife in there, to be brutally honest with you. Okay, and just like the airport, okay, it's another DOT, you know, area that's pretty, that you should be putting some type of conservation easements on this or whatever. And counting some of this stuff in there. So that's one of the things that they're kind of looking at, but nobody really wants to take that on.
Yeah, expensive and, yeah.
Well, it's expense, but it's not that expensive, but
I mean, yeah, I mean,
Right,
lands
count-
are already
from an accounting perspective.
restricted in a way.
Yeah.
Practically restricted. All right, anything else, Brian?
No.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Michelle, other than Con College,
College would do later. The only other thing is, I have in the agenda package that I've been expanding my energy alternatives idea, and I've realized going through it that it's actually going to be a textbook. So it's not just a project. I'm literally writing a textbook. And in addition to what I put there, some things that come up since then. I mean, the more I research, the more I find, right? So for wind, we need to look at both offshore and onshore, because those have two different sets of issues. And then after environmental impacts for each technology, I'm going to add mitigation strategies, right? So for every impact, there are ways to mitigate it. And so I'm going to have that as part of the story as well. So this is turning into a bit of a monster, but I think it's needed and I like it. So and once I get a handle on most of the details, I'll extract the pieces that are relevant to Groton and try to put the numbers on those things first. But I found it really good. There's International Renewable Energy Association of some kind. They have this great report on the costs of renewable energy, all the different costs. So that's really valuable. They go into all the details about what the different costs are going into the renewables. So there's just a lot of information out there. And Dave sent me a couple of things from Megan, and she said something. So I mean, there's just a lot of stuff. So this is a work in progress, but it's pretty interesting.
right, very good. And we'll circle back to the Con College projects. Old business, open space inventory. Well, this is a little out of date, because what Ray just said. But based upon Tom's new numbers, with the latest GOSA acquisition, we're now up to 29.3% by the definition we're using. Which I guess is 290 protected or preserved parcels, 82 conservation easements. And to get to 30, which we adopted as our goal, that leaves us 132 acres. I subtract 40 or so from the Avalonia news we just heard. That brings us down to 100.
Yeah.
So, it's it's, I mean, kind of gets to the whole point that our shift to stewardship versus acquisition is our thrust. And I guess I'll talk about that a little more in the budget support item. Okay, open space, Tom already did that. Open space planning, I don't have anything new per se on open space planning. Does anyone else have any? Nope. On the P O C D, I mentioned the earlier sessions. Also, the housing market study, which is in the agenda, is now available. Is there gonna be a review session on that, Dave, or?
I'm not sure. I'm not really sure. We just, I know it was Deb Galot had just sent it out. John had asked it. It just came out, so he just sent it out. I'm sure I don't know if it's going to be part of some of these community conversations. They're going to kind of put
Well,
it
that's
into
kind of
that.
where I was going
Yeah.
is to utilize that information. I mean, there's a lot of stuff in there.
Yeah.
But then what the heck does it actually mean and what do we do about it? Which I'm assuming gets folded into our P O C D conversations.
Yep.
Which there's a whole section, one of the sessions is on housing.
On housing, correct. Yep.
So.
I'm assuming it's going to be
Can I
part of that.
assume if that will be part of that
Yes,
presentation?
I would
or
assume that.
At least the highlights.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Especially because it's from the last report, it's
It-
some big changes, you know, like
Yes. Oh, yeah, the big change in the last
Yeah.
report.
absolutely. So I think that that's going to be a big piece of that too as well.
Right. The other thing that was published is the Downtown Mystic Resiliency and Sustainability Plan. That was published and in the agenda. I guess I would say no real surprises or new news there. The recommendations were. I'm
You
trying
can
to
say
think
it.
of the right words.
No, you could say it.
Practical and achievable, short range.
Somewhere. Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I'm
Yeah.
trying to be positive.
I know
with
you're
my
right. Yes, I know.
adjectives. But it doesn't really address the real issue,
Yep.
which I'm not sure how to address. So it's something.
Yep.
Um,
Gets us a little closer to implementation, a little bit, a little.
A little,
You know,
yes. a
yeah.
little. I guess the question is, okay, now what? I mean,
Right.
I know that the recommendations, they're specific enough to go after funding, et cetera,
Yes,
to
yep.
support. But that's like this small little piece
Yep.
of the issue. What's Megan's plan for the next step on the rest of the issue?
We could have Megan come back in and you know in a few months when she gets settled and has she's been working hard on this obviously and whatnot. So and we can definitely talk about next steps. So
Well, I'm thinking timing, because this was nice, but then again, I'll link it back to the PLCD, which must have.
yeah,
I'll change
it will
Must have more
tangible.
strategic,
Yes.
tangible,
Yep.
strategic and
Tangible.
tangible elements in this area.
Yep.
So no, I agree, we heard Megan back, but I don't see it being before summer, maybe June.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'm not talking.
July, August.
yeah,
I
yep.
mean, something in the.
And at that point too, the hope is, so as you're aware, or you should be aware, because I think she talked about it last time. So she's been bringing a lot of grants in. Okay. So she talked about the Long Island Sound future funds with the permeable pavement,
Right.
with the Fish Passage, the culvert replacement projects. She secured the deep funding for the climate action plan. So really the next step in terms of this is to put together the town's climate action plan. Still waiting for the money on that. So that's their deep is having some hiccups with that whole process. But that's kind of the next iteration of to the projects moving forward, which will look not just at one small segment, but look at the entire town. So but yeah, summertime would probably be good. I wasn't talking next month.
No,
We have plenty going up. Everyone has plenty, like Eco
So we're
Fair,
talking
on
August,
college.
September.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. I mean, would you note that or
Sure.
give Megan's a heads up that?
Yep.
That we'd like to see how we can support or input or do something with that effort on the next round. Other comments on the Mystic Sustainability Plan?
Did everyone get a chance to, does that, everyone see, I got a copy or did you
Well,
see
it's-
it
it's
got
on the
released?
agenda.
It isn't the,
Yeah.
Not my.
Not
not in
agenda.
this one.
Not this agenda.
It was a separate.
It was separate.
Oh, I'm
yeah,
sorry. I
yes.
went, I found it and then, okay,
It was
yes.
a separate.
I do, yes, I do have it. It was
I
separate
did
with it.
look at it.
Let
yeah,
me
I
bring
did
it
read
up. I think.
Yeah, some of the things in there, for instance, tidal gates.
Yep.
On some of the pipes that aren't that expensive compared to,
Yes.
what you might want to do. it
And
seems
those
like-
may be one of the first.
And it seems like you have to hunt for money.
Yep.
To make all of that happen. So it was a nice plan or a presentation to the problem. But it seems like going ahead in the next few months, it's a matter of where can we get funding to make this happen?
Yep.
Or
And I don't know,
something.
I know there's been conversations about whether or not there's some CIP money to look in there, but the stormwater issue, aside from the flooding issue, there's some pockets of Mystic that are very challenging, and there are, as you all are pretty much, or we should be aware, like, places like Pearl Street, which used to be in inland waters, which were filled and is never going to be easy to, it's always going to flood, and a lot of those sections are bowls. So it's not you have to go up and, to pump the water. There's some big engineering challenges that I know that Megan's been talking with Public Works about and thinking differently. And it probably is going to mean, next steps, looking at some engineering studies of what that looks like. Yes, tidal gates and tidal flappers on the discharge pipes are a more inexpensive option that'll help. But looking at the bigger projects are going to take bigger issues are going to take a little bit more. So, yeah, I don't know where I know that's one that I think she was talking with Public Works potentially on, like maybe CIP, but I don't remember I don't think there was any cost associated quite yet. I don't know if it's going this year, maybe next year. Those are literally the report just came out. They kind of knew, but yeah, it's looking at what those options are.
One of the things to make all that happen is the Stormwater Authority. And should we be taking a position as the Conservation Commission to advocate for that? I know the town council has had a presentation on it by the state consultant. I know that and that there's and that New London has already implemented it, okay? And that there's some benefits that they've already seen from that. But the town doesn't seem that interested in it personally, is how I kind of read the town council from the questions that they were being asked of the state consultant and public works director. And should we be more advocating for it from a conservation commission perspective? I don't know how familiar you are with that whole issue, but
Well, I mean, I'll get back to money.
well, the whole thing is, that's the state recognized that the towns that implemented it were successful because it does provide money to go do things with. And but it's a tax. I won't argue that. It's a new tax. Okay.
a fee.
Basically they're gonna take the view of your GIS, and they're gonna see wherever there's brown or house, okay, brown driveway or brown house, and you're gonna get assessed amount by square footage that you have, okay? And that all goes into a pot of money for stormwater type of improvements and stuff.
It's kind of like sewer or
Right.
water tax or anything else.
But it's based on how much impervious surface that you have on your house. So, you have, and then if you don't disagree because, I tore out my asphalt and I put pavers in, then I can get a reduction, but I don't know if you're ever gonna make that up, but I don't know what the rates are and all this kind of stuff. And the thing that they found, the questions were and I had to put the onus on Public Works that they're not really pushing for it, okay? Because to come up with the business case analysis to say that this is what you're, how is it gonna affect the tax rates and stuff in the town? That's really what needs to be done. And I don't know who's, Public Works really doesn't have anybody they don't see any, there's no, to them, there's no driver to it because they aren't involved. They just worry about the money for the sewer tax and that's about it. Okay. For the stormwater tax, they haven't really thought through it. So they don't really have the advocacy right now to push for it. The only reason I think to some degree is Mr. McBride, that his day job worries about that over in New London and he's bringing that back to Groton. But I think in the big picture, from a resiliency perspective, from a conservation perspective, I think that there would be some benefit to going with this, because it's going to be a new tax. I won't argue that. The net result will be people will pay more. Okay. But we need to be paying more to get that stuff done.
Yeah.
And that's probably the most fair way of doing it.
Has there been a sort of a master plan of how to move forward on this? In other words, come up to say, okay, if we do start taxing and we're collecting the funds, what projects are we going to address first?
Well, this is the starting point with that.
Right,
Okay.
that, I was kind of going to your question is that.
Megan, there's nothing that talks about stormwater authority in this report that it just jumped out at me.
Well, in discussions, there was as a way of.
It was mentioned verbally, but I
Yes.
don't see it in the writing.
Yeah, well, I guess that's where I was kind of going was to say, I would think that Megan, from a solutions point of view, should put it on the table. Then we could respond to that. I don't, my own opinion is I don't think the Conservation Commission should be leading with stormwater authority should be established with taxes and everything else. I think we're helpful to support something like that.
Well, I see, we're here to provide input to the town manager, okay? We work for him, okay? So I think it's worth the conversation to go in and says, do you need us to help advocate for this? Do you need us to come up with the business case analysis for us, that type of
Well, I
stuff?
was kind of going there, that Megan though should kick it off. And then ask us for support, because part of that is we're a support group for the town manager, but also for the town staff in certain areas. So if I would be looking for Megan to say, this is one of the funding paths I'm gonna go, this is one of the recommendations I'm gonna do.
I think it's outside of her
Yeah.
scope, these are the reservations, but this is where the town manager needs to be, this is really, it's his job. And as far as how am I gonna, I've got this resiliency coordinator here that I've got a new person on my staff for the last 18 months. And she's off coming up with all these recommendations. How am I gonna go pay for all this stuff? That's the town manager's job as he puts the budget process together, okay? And so I think
Well,
for our advocacy, I'm just saying.
It's all that MS,
The MS4 is part of that process. That's all the monitoring stuff.
Last time I went to the town manager for that. he didn't want her.
Okay.
So that's what I was trying to get the staff to come back.
Oh, yeah, I have a note there,
Yeah,
talk to Megan
okay.
about it.
So when did this come out? Because I'm not finding it.
Go, Groton,
Just Google it.
Greater Groton website,
Okay.
right?
I tried searching in my email about 10 different ways, but it,
Says January 31st, 2024 at the bottom. Yeah.
so do we get the email? Do we get it as an email?
Yeah, that's where I found it, where they sent it to me. So this is it here.
Did they send to everybody else or did they just send
Yeah,
it to
no,
Larry?
You, Larry.
Greater Groton website.
I have a final plan presentation, but not the plan.
No, it just came out within what, 2 weeks?
Yeah, February, yeah,
Second, yeah,
yeah.
that sounds right.
Okay, so I have to go to the Greater Groton website to find it.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
then,
it's under there. It's under projects.
yeah, it should be
Okay.
live.
It is, no, it is live.
It's
That's what I
live,
got
okay,
this
all
from.
right, good. I
Yeah.
thought it was, but
Yeah, I got it.
Yep.
Sure.
Okay,
So that's out there. So I agree is that whenever you get into raising taxes and creating new political entities, let's face it, that's what that would mean.
yeah, and
It gets problematic.
and I also think, I'm just talking for personal experience. I dealt with this over in Rhode Island. As soon as it's framed as a tax, it's done for, like you gotta move, and as you all heard, it was a rain tax, and oh, you're now taxing me for it falls from the sky and whatnot. And the truth is, it's a fee associated by how much or how little impervious you have. And it's a cost to the town every time it rains and goes into our storm drains, and we have to deal with it and treat it or whatnot. And but it's challenging because as soon as you use a tax, and someone will,
It's
so
a
if it
utility- I mean,
it's
it's a
a-
question
it's a
framed, it's a
utility fee.
utility tax,
Yep.
basically.
or
So a
fee,
lot of this gets to framing it with the public
yes,
and have well, certainly there's a constituency out there that's in those bowls
Mhm.
that should be advocating for it.
and they could be, yep, absolutely.
Well, I wonder, should it, to be some extent, kind of, that's where you live, it's your home, like, I can see the argument of, like, well, I live on a hill, why am I paying for you? Well, you live down on the water, like, that
Yeah,
could
no.
really divide people.
Correct.
It absolutely can. And I
Yes.
think that one of the biggest challenges from this report too is the fact that, yes, was it looking at the downtown flooding? So you have coastal flooding, but then you also have that hill and everything is running down that hill. So if you're actually able to, infiltrate some of that water on the hill that would otherwise run down the streets, and then it just complicates and any tidal flooding you have. So you have both the tidal flooding and then you have freshwater flooding, and it just makes it worse. And we all, no matter where you live, everyone lives in a watershed. It doesn't matter if you're in a bowl or in the top of the hill, the bottom of the hill, wherever. And the more that we can actually get it back into the ground, the better. But it's challenging. It's not an easy thing.
And you gotta do it,
Yep,
each
absolutely.
homeowner has to do it. I know, I'm on top of the hill, my neighbor's here.
Yeah.
And we have a discussion with the developers. We made them build a channel between the property filled with rocks, so that when the water didn't come off of my property,
Mhm.
zoom right into their
Right,
basement,
right.
it at least went down, got diverted and then into the storm drain.
See? Right.
I mean, that's where,
Yeah.
it was channeled to go.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it would go into his basement.
Right.
So the people on the hill have a responsibility. I mean, I helped, I allowed him to use my property to dig the ditch,
To divert it. Yep.
right? So it didn't cost me money, but it
Does-
cost me property.
Is
I
the
guess.
town incentivizing, with this permeable paver business, will there be incentives from the town to put that kind of thing in?
Not there yet.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, and that's what, something like that, rain gardens, permeable pavement, that would all, if it ever got to like a utility, that's where there's financial incentives for doing that kind of stuff. But
The more
at
you
this
add, the more
point,
complicated and more admin costs you have.
Yeah,
and that,
absolutely,
It's a
yeah.
balance there.
yeah, it totally is.
All right, so the net of all this is from a conservation, we want to help, but
Right.
I think it's got to be driven from the requirement, not from us saying,
I get
yeah,
that.
we've read
I
the
get it.
report and we think you ought to do an authority and do the water tax or criminal service tax.
Fee.
Fee, whatever the hell, fee, thank you, yes, don't call it a tax. So.
Someone else will call it that.
Part of this gets into back to whether it's August or September, where she comes back and says, here's the help I need.
Yep.
As we go forward, and at some point, it's not one of the topics in in your 4 POCD sections.
Well, there's no sections yet. Remember, nothing is.
No. The 4 meetings are happening.
Oh yeah, no, that's just those are big topics that have constantly keep coming forward to us.
Yeah.
So that's what we're trying to build around. How do you educate? How do you build a conversation around that? That has nothing to do with ultimately, yes, could they become part of of Groton 2035? Absolutely. But it's just starting the conversations about issues that are, first and foremost in a lot of people's minds. I can't find anywhere to rent. I want to buy a house, but there's nothing here that I can afford. Like all, like I want to get more involved with, the town council, but I don't know how to, so I just sit back and just listen and like all those those are the kind of things that we're trying to bring forward. So these are conversations. I want to, I just want to be very clear that this is kind of the start to the conversation, to start to the effort towards Groton 2035, but it's not saying that,
No, but I'm saying the next way, it's not in this one, but the next wave.
yep, could
the
be.
Specifics need
Absolutely.
to be education. Like, you're gonna add education before you start putting fees on the table.
Yep, absolutely. You have to.
You have to.
Yep. And people have to understand how does it impact me? So
And it does,
and it
because if
does.
this stick goes under
Yep.
and that tax base goes away, then the remaining, the taxes or, funding comes from who's left.
But also think about
So
don't even, I mean, besides the flooding that we know is happening way too frequently in downtown Mystic, think about the flooding that's happening in other parts of the town just because there's no place for the water to go. And if all of a sudden I can't drive through it, my normal way to work or pick up my kids, I can't go there anymore because it's flooded. Now all of a sudden it's not just the people that can afford the rich houses down in Mystic, well, I
I couldn't
can't
get to the grocery store
Yeah.
in that last
Yep,
storm.
exactly.
The street was blocked off.
Yep, exactly.
I could have gone through it because I got a big
Right.
vehicle, but anyway, but most people couldn't go through.
Right,
it.
absolutely. So that's the kind of, it's all about framing the conversation to, it is, we have our coastal flooding, we know we have that, but we also are seeing as we're getting, and this goes back to the whole climate piece of it, as we're getting more frequent, more intense, larger storm events, like rainstorm events where you're not getting a quarter of an inch, you're getting three and a
5.
quarter exactly plus, and that just keeps adding up and causing issues with our infrastructure, meaning our roads, our sewers, our everything. So
Just a quick question, to take your point a little bit further about increased flow, during this last storm or one of the last storms we had a few weeks ago, where down by Johnson's Hardware, that the road had
That's what I'm
Route 1
referring
was
to, right? It's
Yep.
underwater.
was
Exactly. Yep.
underwater.
Yep.
That's a new bridge.
Mhm.
And when they replaced it with the current one, was forced to be moved whatever schedule it was to replace it anyway, was because of a previous storm had started washing the underpinnings. And there was so much rainwater and so forth coming out of the reservoir that it actually washed a good part of that whole section. So they came and they rebuilt the bridge. And I was thinking, having been part of the Groton Long Point
Mhm.
Bridge, part of that discussion when that was formulated, is that I didn't see anything about actually raising that roadbed. Even maybe a foot or 2 feet.
Mhm.
And they do have the run up where I think they could do that. But that was not a discussion point, and it seems like where we are now, it would be.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely agree that, I mean, now we're having much more serious conversations and not just about, let's build it back to how it was. Well, we can't do that anymore.
Right.
And we have to think about, I mean, it's the compounding impact of everything, and it's like, yeah, maybe we need to raise it a foot. Maybe we need to raise it 3 feet. So I think even our flood regulations in terms of looking at that, like, so we have, 1 foot above base flood elevation, and there's, even the building department's getting questions. Well, what if I raise it 2 feet? Okay, they'll buy you a little bit more time, and so these are the conversations that are not just happening here on the town level and with the staff, but also with homeowners that are thinking about flood insurance and everything else, whether it's coastal flood insurance or inland flood insurance. I mean, I think everyone is really impacted by it, and they're slowly starting to think differently about it. So it's challenging. It's really, really challenging. And that's why, when we think about this whole process of Groton 2035, these are all things that in another 10 years or now, not, 10, 12 years, things are going to be different again, and are we really moving towards resilience and sustainability, or are we just kicking the ball down the road, And so these are the big questions that come out of all of this. So.
Well, this is an uplifting.
I know. No, but I also think, Larry, good point. And I think that especially when you think about all these storms and think about it. So the storm we had in December 23rd, 2022, right, was the worst flooding that we had since Sandy. Okay. This year alone, since December, we've had 3 more storms. And one was even worse than the one back in 2022.
I would say this last one was worse.
That was the worst one,
Right.
And so I was working with Megan, and she's like, "Oh, what do you think about this?" So I like those kind of numbers, looking at like how does this compare? And most people are like, "Oh man, that must have been like a 25-year storm." It's like, no, that was a 3-year storm. So this is what we should expect every 3 years, or every 5 years, or every 7 years, and that's what it is, like. And those are the numbers that we're getting when you start looking at, flooding and sea level rise and everything like that. So it can be all doom and gloom. And I think that you need to look at the opportunities. Where are the opportunities that we can, make our town more sustainable and resilient and whatnot? And simple things like, yeah, we're going to put like a tide gate on the back of our outflows. It's going to buy us a little bit of time, but it's a step in the right direction to start to then think about the bigger things. So it's really looking at what are those opportunities going forward. So it doesn't have to be all doom and gloom. It's just challenging. So anyways.
Okay. 5.4, 6.4, budget support.
You can
I-
stop sharing.
Oh. Makes your face bigger. So, so I did reach out to, town manager. He was not ready to release the CIPs for the, Parks and Rec, because we were pushing for increased stewardship, budget. And, it was, don't call me, I'll call you discussion. I will go back, let it sit there for a little bit, but I will go back on that. Vacant land review, nothing's happened. I don't know, you know if anything happened? I don't
Not
know.
that I've
Yeah,
heard.
nothing's happened.
Nope.
And that brings us back to
Town
Michelle.
College.
Town
Okay,
College.
can you share the document?
Yep. It's
So-
it'll be the one in the agenda, correct?
Yep. So we
Okey-dokey.
I thought it was a great meeting that we had on last Monday. Ann was there in person, and Kristen and Jason were there electronically. And we have 12 students, and they were actually pretty much prepared to tell us what their projects were. So they did their homework, they talked, there was a little bit of negotiation, because we actually had one student that wanted to do stormwater, but she couldn't find anyone else that did, so we ended up with no stormwater projects. But the ones that we do have, as soon as whoever's
Okay.
sharing,
Oop.
Larry, or yeah, you got it the right
Yeah,
thing,
yeah,
you just have
yeah.
to scroll to it.
There we go.
Further,
Um,
further.
Yeah.
I think it's at the
Page
end.
23.
I'm a
There it is.
Yep.
Too far.
There it is. Okay, so the final now, so this was their first, they were officially assigned the projects. Today in their class, they were supposed to start doing their plans. So we have a general idea of what topics they're working on. By the meeting next month, we should have the actual plan. So we'll narrow it down a little more. So those of us that are working with them will be working with them in the next week or so to help them really get their plan in place. But just sort of a general takeaway from the meeting was we have 3 students that are going to be working on the Earth Day Fair, and they're pretty excited about the people interaction. And obviously they'll work with Kristen and Jason to come up with what they're actually going to do for the fair. In addition to those specific students, though, there's a good chance that the whole group is going to use the Earth Day Fair as their group project, because often they used to do like a cleanup or whatever, but they're going to try to probably do the Earth Day. They will either have a separate booth that's, you know, the college booth, or they might just give stuff to us for our booth. And we have to, if we're going to figure out what's in our booth, it might depend on what the students want to do. So we have to have that conversation, and I'll talk about that a little bit when we get there. That's definitely excitement there. They're really into it. So actually the value of stewardship and why it's important kind of feeds into that, because again, this is part of outreach. Ray gave me one document to help with them, but we mentioned the COP property and River Road Conservation Area, but we don't have management plans for either one of those, do we? I didn't see them in the when I looked on this site. Do we have plans for those?
No.
Yeah.
No.
not for-
Top property is supervised by the they have their own board of overseers.
Right. So do they have, do we know if they have a written plan or not?
I'm not aware of a written plan, but they have meeting minutes and that type of stuff.
Okay, so we're gonna have to get access to that stuff for the students. They can see what's going on there.
You might
And-
start with Mark, head of Parks and Rec.
Okay,
I sent you some information to get them
Yes.
started.
yes, I
And-
saw that. Yep.
Right, and I think it's an excellent question. Both Pequot Woods as well as COP property, they don't really have plans for. And I'm not sure that for any other like BB Woods.
Okay,
There's a trail, we maintain the trails, thank you very much. But and that's run by the park department, so they're not worried about
Okay.
stewardships and other people helping out on that.
okay, so maybe at sometime this week, Bray, we could get the students and you and me on a phone conversation so that you can sort of give them information about where we stand on those things. Is that okay?
Okay. Sure,
So I'll see when what they want to do. So to give them some kind of, I haven't heard from them yet. I heard from another group, but not them. So we definitely need to give them a little bit more information. If we want to highlight those properties, we need to give them more information about the properties.
right,
But definitely this isn't as much about the properties as it is about education outreach about stewardship. And again, whatever they come up with could be we could have that in our booth at Earth Day, or it could be in the college booth. So again, that depends on where they go with that. So the next one then, sustainability and development process. Those 2 students were really excited about that. So Anne's going to work with them on that with Megan's help. They can
And I
keep
did-
going. Again,
What was that?
Anne gave them the POCD and whatever. So they still have to figure out how they would need to narrow that down. So she's going to have to work with them to help them narrow down exactly what they're going to do, because they didn't know enough about it yet to know.
Dave
And
has a
then,
question.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Anne.
No, I was just gonna say that I did let Megan know that this one wasn't one of the ones that's chosen, so at least you know she's.
I copied her on.
did? Okay, good.
The students, yeah,
Good,
so
excellent.
she knows, and I just gave him a link to the POCD because I didn't know, like, what it was or where to find it.
Did you find it? You found it, right?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And
so I
they were
sent them-
definitely interested in things like, well, what's going to happen if our recommendations? So they're really, these students really are into the issues that they picked, right? And like the urban tree canopy, they came up with these questions or whatever, like, oh, they understood it better than I do, right? So, and again, I don't know, Anne, if you want to say anything more about that one.
Oh,
Didn't we just do the tree survey?
well,
Well, you
that
had the
was,
tree inventory, and that's part of the greater Groton
Yeah, okay.
project.
yeah, no, the 3 of them were just, really right on top of this. And for that, I sent them the heat presentation that Megan and her intern
It turned it, yeah.
did, because there was a lot of really good information in there.
Mhm.
And that's why I was also asking about the tree inventory, just to, so they could see what one looked like, but they're also aware of software where they can survey things. But these projects are really what the students want to do, you know, so they're gonna look at the POCD and apply, you know, or think about what they might do differently. And it may not be in line with what we're doing, and that's okay. It's more how they go about doing the project, I guess. I'm learning this, Katrina.
Right. And then for the energy alternatives, the two students that are on that evidently there's a solar array on College property that they put up that opens and closes like a flower or something. So the original discussion was to look at that and to look at, you know, all the pieces that we were looking for. Now they tried to call me today, or they texted me while I was driving, and so I haven't heard from them. So we're going to have some kind of conversation this week for what they're thinking of doing. And if we want to circle back, Kristen, I didn't ask you if you had any more feedback on the Earth Day one. So do you have anything else you want to add to what I said?
No, I have an interest in just having some kind of communication with the three of us and with the students, like if because I know they met today, so I'd be curious to find out what was
Right.
decided today. And then, like I said, the three of us should meet about that.
Right. So I mean, there's certainly a lot of potential fodder for our booth and potentially our booth plus a College booth. So it's just a matter of, you know, what details we want to commit to with it.
Yep.
So next month we'll have a better, a more detailed description of here's what they actually are planning on doing.
All right, is there any guidelines on what the content of that description or project plan looks like, or are they doing it themselves?
Well, they're doing it. We're going to help them. They're meeting Jen's requirements for a plan.
Right.
And so I don't know that I actually saw those requirements. So basically it's taking our information and putting it into a plan that meets her requirements.
Okay,
And then they're
so
going to run it by us as okay, here's what we're thinking. And then we can give them feedback about the details of it, how to do, like if, you know, helping them resolve whatever issues they have with there's funding or whatever. So they're just supposed to do the first draft and then run it by their POC.
Okay. And will the first draft review by you guys be done before our March meeting? Or
That's
it's gonna
the
be
plan.
subsequent?
Yes, I think they're required to have this finalized by the end of the month.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, because then they go off on vacation for 2 weeks, and then we only have a couple of weeks to the actual event. So you can't spend all the time planning. And they're actually
Right. In fact, I think they're supposed to have it
presentation
done by next week, but I'm not 100% sure about that.
Okay.
But yeah, it's not like a month from now. It's like they need to get it done now.
Yeah, okay. Very good. Any other questions, comments? Okay, the other thing is, let me back up. You talked about this. Is there anything else you wanted to, on your?
Only if people have questions. I'm not going to add, Larry, I'm not going to add your suggestion of you riding your electric bike to whatever. I choose not to add that as an option.
You choose.
I think it's important. Look at a city like Amsterdam. Everybody rides a bike.
Everybody has
I
a
mean,
bike.
and we're involved in the whole road, this complete streets. I mean, I think it's highly relevant. The bike.
Yeah,
stuff.
I think I have enough to work with right now.
She didn't accept my input, so. I tried.
Because I knew you were being facetious.
Partially, but yes, human power is
Sustainable.
relevant. You're right.
Well, it's highly sustainable.
Yeah.
Probably the most sustainable.
Yeah, I remember even the UN gave Castro a real big thumbs up because everybody had bicycles because they couldn't afford anything else.
Right,
Like-
but the bicycles aren't fueling the cars or the buildings
It avoids,
or going to the baseline. they're preventing
Right.
the CO2,
Avoid-
but they're not creating energy for the 3 things that I have on the list.
Well, unless they charge batteries that then
Yeah.
you can discharge.
E-bikes.
E-bikes,
Yeah.
yeah, they
Like
do
EV.
take energy. I think you
Yeah.
gotta include
Anyway.
them, Michelle.
Never mind. Moving
Someone
right,
wants to write me up a section, I'll put it in there.
no.
I got
Moving
plenty to research, thank you very much.
I mean, actually, we're at the end of our agenda.
Yep.
Another section was on stewardship, we just talked about, basically. We do have report of staff,
And outreach we're doing next month,
and outreach is March.
March, okay.
Right.
Uh,
Oh, I'm sorry, excuse me. I was gonna ask, thank you for reminding me. We've been getting outside speakers and or staff to support that, so outreach would be what's Greater Groton, which would be Ms. Post?
Right, Lauren.
Yes,
Post.
so have you reached out, or
Me?
I don't know who's doing outreach?
Oh, I thought. Miss-
We're also supposed to be.
Well, I'm on outreach, but I thought it's not my job to figure out what staff it is. I thought Dave was gonna do that for us, to figure out what staff we needed to connect with.
Well, but I'm asking the question, did anyone do that?
No, we said we are gonna discuss it in March.
March.
We said we're gonna discuss it today. If we want to reach out to, so you can talk to Lauren, you can talk to Clayton from Parks and Rec. But that's really, it depends on which direction you want to go.
Any
Well,
thoughts on
Yeah, I'm
that?
thinking at this point, would it be helpful to come up with some strategies for increasing the Greater Groton reach? Since you're trying to use that for your outreach, right? Would that make sense? Or, that's the whole point of next month's discussion, is to figure out what makes sense in terms of us supporting the town's outreach, correct?
Well, is it
Correct.
the town's outreach or is it our
I
outreach
think-
for
I
our
thought it was always
project?
your outreach.
Yeah, our
Not towns.
Well,
charge the towns
we are part of the town.
No, I get
Well, I
that.
think it's a combination, because our outreach should work with the town's outreach, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I
It needs to
mean,
be
we've got a
coordinated.
little website, but Greater Groton had more access and more people signing up to it than our website.
And you can stop sharing also, thank you. 'Cause then I can see you guys better.
Well, for example, the Eco Fair, I don't know if that's on the Greater Groton or not, it should be. So that's something that we're doing as a group, it's something that's part of the community, and it should be on Greater Groton,
What is?
the Eco Fair.
But
Like,
that's
I don't know if
also,
it is or not, I'll check.
yeah, I don't think it is, but
Right.
I think that would be something that, that wouldn't really fall on us staff. It would fall on whoever's managing the eco.
Right,
Like-
so, but I'm saying that's an example of where we're doing something, we're participating in something as a group. And we can put that forward just to kind of support the whole,
So I
Well,
guess
the
that's
thing
part of the
is-
discussion next month, as to how to make all this work and be more productive for all of us, right?
Well, I think what she was getting at is that the Earth Day coordinator should work with Greater
Greater Groton,
Groton for advertising
Yeah.
and,
it makes
Right.
sense, it's
I mean,
synergistic.
yeah, it's synergistic. So I would say that should happen,
Yeah, I'll reach out to him, I'll
Okay.
call him tomorrow.
but it shouldn't be Conservation Commission per
Well-
se, because you got 50 vendors and everything else, so it's actually.
Exactly,
Well,
yeah, but
the
that's something with,
library-
that's just a.
But yeah, it'd be
Wait a
more like
wait
a
a-
library.
Well, the library, because it's held there, they have
Yeah.
it somewhere.
Yeah.
I don't know if they already have it on the,
I don't know, I
Greater
mean, I'm
Groton.
just saying they
Well,
should.
isn't the Greater Groton
They-
really is project focused? And I don't
Yeah.
think this is considered a
Earth Day is a
project.
project.
It's
Is
a
it?
project, isn't it just kind of communicating what's going on in the community?
No, it's you open the thing, your homepage is projects.
Yeah.
Everything is
Well,
categorized by a
I'm
project.
disagreeing, I'm just saying Earth Day is a project.
Well, it hasn't been done that way
Well-
last year to this
Well,
year.
the first time we were really involved was last year.
Yeah.
First time we had it was
It was
last year.
last year.
Last
That
year was
was
the
the
first
first-
year, so we're evolving.
I'm
There we
just,
go.
yeah, I'm just saying is
There's a
that,
huge thing
shouldn't it
happening in
be?
Groton. like,
Well, there's a separate community outreach project
What
in
the-
Greater Groton.
Right, which is what probably would have fallen under.
it's on the public.
Well, they
library.
can slot in wherever they want. I'm just saying is that,
So we would need, whoever is
Oh,
in
yeah,
charge
the-
of that
the
would need to
library
come up
office
with
has
all the stuff to have.
Either, so.
to give the look.
To give to Lauren, but
Because
they would, yeah.
And then the students are actually, some of the students are
but it's
interested in
not-
social media, that'd be something that the college students could put together
Yep.
some stuff and just feed it. I mean, I guess you want the Greater Groton to be an active participatory page, and so if things are going on and big things are going on in town and they're there, then that raises.
I'll talk to Lauren about
Yeah.
it, how that would work.
Okay.
I mean, there's 1,200
Oh,
people
that's
showed up
funny.
last year.
And they're
Right,
Yeah,
expecting-
so maybe,
Well,
maybe,
but that's where. we
maybe
would get-
Lauren is the person to bring to our meeting next month.
Well, if you Google it, it's on the town website. Let's see where it is.
What, Greater Groton?
Well,
Well, see, there's a town website, Greater Groton
Yeah.
website, then there's also
the
the other
library. Let's see, it's
development
right
one.
here.
That's the library, oh, Greater Groton, a town, okay, so it's a town project, cool.
Okay,
Well, it's a town project rather than Greater Groton project.
okay, that's fair.
I know.
And who's,
And they could post that
It's the
for a
library.
great, from a
That's
great.
gotta be
pro-
oh, that's,
Library.
but I'll talk, it's the library's website.
Yeah, on the
Yeah, can you
Groton
send,
website.
if you find something out about that, Dave, send it, like, don't, let's not wait till the next
That's fine.
meeting, because then that'll give some time.
I mean, the biggest thing is whoever is responsible for, like, it depends upon, this is where it gets challenging.
Yeah.
Is that someone needs to manage that page, and it doesn't fall directly on staff unless it's a staff project. So like, so for instance, I'm trying to give you a good example here, like Megan is responsible for the Mystic one, and she's responsible for, so I don't know if that's the right realm for the students. It might be more effective like they used Instagram last year, because they could
Yes.
instantly
Yeah.
put feedback on, whereas this is more, this engagement is different.
Mm.
So, it's coming up with polls and asking questions, and yeah, I'll ask Lauren, because she really understands it best. But it's like Tom did say, it is more big project based, because the other thing too is you just, the eco fair is a finite point in
Right.
time.
Yeah,
So in order for this to be successful, you don't want to just, okay, April happens, it's gone, and then you revisit it back next
It's
February.
almost the reverse. In other words, does Greater Groton have a booth at the fair?
And we probably do, and we probably will be,
I know you handed out
no, but we,
stuff last
but
time.
half the time we have laptops right there, you can sign up right there, then and there, and start getting stuff.
What he said was, does Greater Groton have a booth planned for this eco fair?
I don't know for
Yeah.
sure, but probably
No, no,
yes.
because
I
that's,
doubt
that's a good thing to sign up more, because there's more people attend the fair than are currently signed up. So this is a
Oh, yeah.
great way to get
Right.
people.
Yeah.
signed
Like,
up.
like I
If they
meant,
haven't signed up, the deadline's
but there's
passed,
a lot
we'll
of
still take it.
non-Groton people that come.
I'll
to
ask
this
Lauren.
fair.
Well, we could.
Which is fine.
We
Yeah.
could squeeze them in.
But
Yeah,
I
we don't
think,
squeeze them in, it's just.
Cause that's one, always in the survey questions, are you a Groton resident or not? It always filters it that way.
Yeah.
And they take
Oh.
input from
I-
outside.
that's right.
Not a bad
Yeah.
idea.
Well,
But they
because
have
of
to
the
bring
community.
something.
I don't know what the,
Right.
of his 800 people, I don't know how many are non-Groton residents, but some percentages.
Some percentage of that are non-Groton, I'm sure, yeah. Okay. Where were we? Oh, staff.
So what was the, so what's the
So
bottom
the-
line on this?
David's gonna.
I'm gonna reach
get
out
back
to Lauren
us.
and figure out.
So we cycled back today. Report of staff.
So I talked about that. The only thing I have on here, and I don't remember where I got it from, was there's a Connecticut compost conference coming up in New London on March 14th.
Yeah.
All right, so
At Concom.
at Con College, yep. Yeah, New London, yep.
Yeah, I forgot about that. I
Okay.
meant to bring that up too.
Oh, yeah, I saw that, yes.
Is that during the week? Is that,
It's the 14th.
14th is a,
That's what I thought.
oh,
it
that's
was.
March 14th.
Yeah, March 14th.
yeah, so it's a Thursday.
Yep.
I could go to that, I guess. I mean,
I'm
Right.
gonna try. Gotta see what.
all
my
right, let's
schedule
go.
is.
Can you send me and Ann to it?
I don't know anything about it. I just
Okay.
have the date there, so I don't even remember where. And do you have anything about it?
I'll pull it up.
2024 CT Compost Conference.
If I can find it.
That's
don't
just
even
for
know.
our, our waste
yep.
stuff. If you want to go too, the three of us could go. We have a little.
Can't be,
subcommittee.
have more than three.
Well, we have a little subcommittee.
March.
14th. It's a Thursday.
Yeah, it's right on the website if you we can send that to you if you want.
This is the
Yeah.
first conference they
You-
will ever have. Connecticut.
If you send it to me, I'll send it out tomorrow.
Okay. And it is from 12, 10 to something, right? No. March 14th.
Oh, yeah, I was gonna send, they were looking for donors. Who are these people? Who is Connecticut Commerce Alliance, though? Maybe I'll reach out to GCA on this and see if they want to send somebody. Besides-
As well, yeah.
Yeah. Cause they got a couple of people, you know, I've gotten a couple of people interested. in it.
Yeah, good, good. Anything else?
That's all I got.
All right. Just Michelle, I'm looking for,
I move we adjourn.
oh,
I'll second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. It's passed unanimous.
You
Meeting
got it.
adjourned.
All right.
See you
Good
next
night,
month,
all.
everybody.
See ya.